How's everybody?
Great.
All right, so we're going to talk about opportunity meetings. I think that for me, this is the most important meeting that we run ever. You heard Justin talk yesterday about how it really doesn't make sense to do our business unless you become a vice president. Heard Josh yesterday talking about how, if there was something better out there, if there was something that made more sense, Cobb would have figured it out by now. I mean, he's a smart guy, right? And so the way I feel about an opportunity meeting is the biggest advantage that we have in our company is the business model and the ability to grow in the way that we can grow and the philosophies that we go by. And if you just get to the point where you can understand it, if you just get to the point where you understand the business that you're actually in, how could you ever leave? Why would you ever want to go do anything else? What else could possibly be better than what our business model can provide to you? So a couple principles about the opportunity meeting. Number one, I want to make sure every single guy sees one before he goes into a weekend. Every single guy. So I know that any guy that starts on the weekend, he's going to have extra time with his friends or his family that probably, if they're anything like my friends or my family, don't understand really what we do. Probably going to be a little bit negative towards it. I want to be sure that I fire the biggest bullet that I have before he's in that environment. So if a guy starts on a Friday, then we'll run one on a Saturday. If a guy starts on a Saturday, then we'll get a drink with him Saturday, before he goes back to his family or to his friends. Even if it's a one-on-one, I want every single person to see this meeting every single time. Number two, I'm not going to badmouth other companies or other business models. I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think it's classy. And I don't think it's companies that have a great product do. You don't ever hear Apple coming up making fun of PC or IBM. Like they know that they have the best products in the world. So there's no reason for them to talk shit about everybody else. I think that's what people in second place do. Cool? All right, and then number three, I want to use this as an opportunity to really get to know the guys that are new in my company. And I'm always trying to relate back to get them to understand that I was on the other side of this meeting not too long ago. So that's usually my introduction when I start out. I say, we wanted to sit with all you guys today to give you a little bit better understanding about the business that you're actually in. And then I give my story a little bit. I say, it's crazy that 5.5 years ago, I was in a room just like this, and I was sitting on that side of the table over there, listening to my manager, give this topic and talk about our business model, and it's just incredible how fast things can move in just 5 or 6 years. I talk a little bit about my background. I want them to get to know me. I want them to get to know, just like Justin was saying, I want them to see that I went through the same thing that they're going through. I used to talk about how when I started, my family, and then again, I'm not going to lie about this, but I'm just going to give my actual story. I talk about how my mom completely didn't understand what I was doing, how I'd left college, and my family wasn't behind me, and I wasn't that great at explaining the business model, and as a result of that, my family wasn't very, very supportive. Can anybody relate, right? And then, if you're just honest about what are the actual negatives that people are going through, they tend to get better on their own. So just by the fact of me bringing up, like, hey, my family's really negative, does anybody relate with that? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, my girlfriend hated what I was doing when I started this. Can anybody relate with that? Oh, yeah, I have that same objection, too. And my mom didn't understand the hours, and she didn't understand the pay, didn't understand this. Oh, yeah, I have that, too. Okay, well, great. Well, that's why we're going to do this meeting, to explain absolutely every part of not only what we do, but why we do it. So I start this out with a contrast. I say, so for me, my family would have been super, super excited for me if I had graduated university and, gone on and got a master's degree and then gotten a job at a big corporation like Microsoft or somewhere like that. That was the advice I was given when I was growing up. You got to work hard. You got to get good grades. You got to go to school. If you want to be successful, that's the key to success. Work hard, get good grades, go to good school, get a big job. And then work there and go to Florida and retire. Anybody else get that advice? Yes. Okay, great. Well, what does that look like? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that advice, but for me, I wanted something a little bit different. For me, I wasn't going to be satisfied with him, right? And so anytime I'm talking about the business and I'm talking about any other models, I'm not saying, that model's shit, or people who work at a bank are retarded. I'm just saying, for me, that wasn't what I wanted. Nothing wrong with it. It's fine, but it wasn't what I wanted. So let's take a look at that. Let's say that I had done that, and I graduated university, and had started at a big company, what would that look like? So we're going to compare our business model to a standard corporate business model. In a normal business model, who's at the top? CEO, right? How many of you guys have seen this before? Or some version of it, yeah? Okay, so we'll go fast. So at the top there's CEO. We want to give his income. For the sake of argument, we'll say $10 million a year. Say who's below him. And all this is interactive, so I'm not just saying, okay, great, in a normal business model there's a CEO and there's vice presidents below. I want this to be super interactive. So I say, Sean, so in a normal business model, who makes the most money?
CEO.
The CEO. Okay, fantastic. And who would be below him, Patricia?
Sorry?
Who would make the next closest amount of money? Vice presidents. And Christoph.
Right.
What do you think they would make, right? So we're going through this, and it's as interactive as possible. I want them giving me the answers. But essentially the model that we end up with is you have the CEO at the top of any major corporation. You have vice presidents below him. They each oversee the different departments. You may have a VP of sales, marketing, research and design. You have a position called the CFO, which is Chief Financial Officer. You have a position called the COO, which is Chief Operating Officer. These are high-end executives, upper-level management. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they make $1 million a year. Below them, what do you have? They each oversee their own department. What does this look like? Ask the question, how many of you guys know someone who's worked at a company for more than 10 years? Okay, great. Are they the CEO?
No.
Are they a vice president?
No.
But are they at the very bottom where they started? No, they're somewhere in the middle, right? And so we give a vague term to this, we call it middle management. This is where most people's careers stall. This is where my dad got stuck for 40 years. This is where most people get stuck, right? An average middle manager, and it depends on the country that I'm in. So in the UK, we'd say, an average middle manager is making 30, 35 grand a year. And then who's below them? Entry level. Right? So this would be, maybe me, and let's say Helen, and Elsa. Cool? So let's say we all three started out entry level at this company, right? What are we going to make entry level at a company? You guys were just looking for jobs a couple weeks ago. How much is it? Right? And again, difference on my country. But a normal entry level job in the UK would be about 15 to 18 grand a year. Different Spain, different Portugal. So now we're going to play a game, right? So essentially what I'm doing with the audience is I'm showing them what does this business model look like, how do we advance, and we're going to use this business model to display the differences in philosophy between our business model and the typical corporate model. So I say, okay, great. So Helen, me and you started just at this company. We're really, really excited, yeah? And we started at the same time. We're motivated. What's our goal going to be? Yes, we want to move up, right? Nobody ever just wants to stay at the bottom forever, right? Nobody's excited about, man, I just want to not progress. I just want to stay in the same role forever. Okay, so our goal is to move up. So how do we do that? Let's say we have a boss and his name is Roy. Cool. How do we advance?
Kill him.
And then this is where it gets interactive and it gets fun, right? So what am I trying to show right now? I'm trying to show that in a normal corporation, advancement is limited, and that in order to advance, you have to have something called vacancy, which means you have to have a spot to move into. So in a normal company, the only way to advance is something happens to Roy, right? Either he gets fired, or he dies, or he retires, or he gets murdered, or the company expands and they open up a new branch. But these are essentially limited options because with their company there has to be a space to move into, right? So the first difference between our company and every other company that I've ever seen is that we have unlimited vacancy. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible to have unlimited vacancy? What do you mean? How is it possible that every single person here could get promoted to a management role? That doesn't make any sense. And I was really skeptical about this when I started. So how is it possible Jack can have unlimited vacancy? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it has to do with the industry that we're in. So what do we do on a really basic level? We help companies get more customers. How many companies are on the planet? Just 6, 7, right? No. Thousands. How many of those want more customers? All of them. And next year, how many companies will be on the planet? And how many will want more customers? Right? So it has to do not with the fact that we're great, but just for the fact that we're positioned in a great market where we provide a service that's always going to be in demand. So, unlimited vacancy because companies are always going to want more customers, and that's what we provide. So, this company, though, they don't have unlimited vacancy. Let's say something happens to our boss, Roy, whatever, he gets fired, he retires. So, on Monday, what are we going to be talking about? Kelly? Nelson? Who's going to get the job? Oh, yes, we're excited, right? And I say, now we make the point that what does a normal company do? A normal company would have a choice. They could say, okay, we can promote either me, or we can promote Helen, or we can promote Elsa, or they also have another choice, which is what? They hire outside of the company. Now we make the next point. The next difference between us and a typical business model is we believe in a policy called 100% promotion from within. Now, there's nothing right or wrong with doing it another way. This is just what we believe. It's a philosophical difference. 100% promotion from within. What does that mean? It means we would never hire someone from outside of the company to come and take a management role. Why? Well, let's play it through. And so what I'm trying to do is take the principles that everybody learned on the lunchtime breakdown and explain the reason why we believe those things. So why is it that we believe 100% promotion from within? And why is that important? Why should you care? Well, because in this other company that has a different philosophy, what happens? We've been working here forever. We're super excited. We're trying to move up. All of a sudden, Roy gets fired, and they bring in, Sam. And now Sam's our new boss. Well, how does this make any sense? Can Sam really help us out? Why not? Sam's job is to help, me and Helen and Elsa do the best job that we can. Can he help us do that? So I got a problem on my computer screen, and I don't know how to fix it. Is Sam going to know how to fix it? No. Why not? Because he's never done our job before, right? And really, it's not doing any favors to Sam, because Sam shows up on Monday morning to be our boss, and how are we going to feel towards Sam? We're going to hate him, and Sam's probably perfectly nice guy, it's not his fault, but we're going to resent him. Is that going to be a great job environment for him? Not really. Now, if Sam's smart, he'll win us over, and over time, he'll learn how to do exactly our jobs, and he'll work right next to us, and he'll learn how to do our jobs so he can help us do our jobs. But even from a business perspective, what does that mean? Who's going to train him? The only person that can train him, the people doing his job. So as a company, the company's going to pay Elsa $18 grand a year to train her boss who's making $30 grand a year. For us, we just don't think it makes any sense. Again, there's nothing wrong or right about it. It's a different philosophy, but that's what we believe. Cool? So that's 100% promotion from within. Now, the next point that we're going to try to illustrate is seniority. And then we're going to talk about 100% performance-based. So how do we do this? I play a game with the guys. This is my favorite part of it. So I talk about how, okay, well, let's say that the company doesn't decide to hire Sam. Let's say that they're going to hire either me or Helen or Elsa. So this guy, the VP of sales and the CEO, they're going to come into a room. They're basically going to sit down. They're going to say, okay, here's Elsa's file. Here is Helen's file. Here's Christoph's file. They're going to sit in a boardroom somewhere, and they're going to come out, and they're going to make a decision. They're going to pick, one of us is going to be the one who's going to get the promotion. Well, what would be in our file? What would they look at? So now we start to make parameters. What would you look at in the file? How would you decide who's going to get promoted? Education.
Family name?
Yeah, education, experience, performance, attendance. All right, and to make this funny, I just make myself like a really horrible example, right? So on education, let's say Elsa would have, a normal degree in advertising. Let's say that Helen would have, a master's from Yale, undergraduate degree from Harvard, a degree in physics from Cambridge, and let's say she did an internship with NASA. And for me, I'm a dropout. Yep. All right, let's talk about experience. How long have you been with the company? Now, here's where I hit seniority. I say this is an important concept. In most companies, they say the longer that you've been there, the more preferable treatment you should get. Your pay should go up. Everything should be different based on this. Now, in our company, we're different. We believe in no seniority. Now, I have to use another example. Why would this make any sense? Why would we believe in no seniority? Well, how many of you guys have ever worked at a job where maybe there was someone else that didn't work very, very hard at that job? Yeah? How many of you guys have ever worked at a job, someone else in the same position, you thought was really, really lazy? Yeah?
Yeah.
You're not raising your hand, you were probably that guy, right? Okay, so let's say, let's say that Victoria and Sean started at the same bank, cool, and Victoria's been there for 5 years, and Sean's only been there for 3 weeks, but Sean's really, really excited. He's working hard. He's motivated. He's working extra hard with the customers, being really, really nice. Victoria's slacking off. She's taking smoke breaks. She's being rude to the customers. And Sean's looking over saying, "Man, she's such a terrible employee." But since Victoria's been there for 5 years and Sean's only been there for 1, who makes more money? Victoria. Well, how does that make Sean feel?
Bad.
If you were Sean. Yeah, you'd probably not be very motivated. So it's not very good for morale, A. But B, is Sean going to continue to be so motivated and do a great job? Why not? Well, because he's not incentivized. Because he's going to say, well, I make less money than her, and she's not even working hard, right? And on another hand, is this situation going to motivate Victoria to start working hard again like she did when she started? No, because she's going to say, I'll just put in another year, just work my way up, and I just get my 3% pay raise, right? And on a business level, who's producing more for the company? Who's producing more for the bank, Sean or Victoria?
Sean.
Okay, so does it make sense to pay Sean less money for more work and Victoria more money for less work? No. We don't think so. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of companies do it this way. We believe differently. So that's no seniority. So I've hit that through the experience example. I'll say, but let's say this company does care about seniority. Elsa's been here a year. Helen's been here, 3 years, and I've been here 6 months. What about performance? Would that matter? Okay, great. Let's say that Elsa hits 99% of her targets. She's really good. Let's say Helen's a freak. She hits 120% of her targets. She's crazy. She's always overperforming. And let's say me, I hit 26% of my targets. Awesome. Attendance. Elsa, she was out once. She missed 3 days in her year here because she had the swine flu. She got better. It's okay. Helen, never missed a day, never been late. She's worked the last 3 Christmases in a row. Even though the company wasn't open, she showed up on Christmas Day, put her desk outside on the sidewalk, and caught up on some paperwork. She's just a maniac. She's worked the last 16 straight Sundays. She's just awesome. We can't kick her out of the building. She's always there. She has a sleeping bag under her desk, right? Me, I'm late 3 times a week. But I've always got a really good reason, right? Every Monday I have food poisoning. Every Friday somebody in my family dies or gets married, so I can't be in there, right? And then we take a vote. Okay, based on these parameters, and you can put in as many as you want, but the basic example is, Helen's obviously the performer. She should obviously get the promotion. I obviously shouldn't, right? So who would you guys vote to get the job? Who would vote for Elsa? Who would vote for Helen? Who should definitely not get the job? Me, right? And I say, but let me ask you a question. What if I'm engaged to his daughter? Who gets the job now? Me, that's right. Is it fair?
No.
Is it right?
No.
A lot of companies operate this way. Why not? Why isn't it fair? And again, I'm wanting them to give me the answers because it's a philosophy that they're going to need to buy into. So I say that is the next difference between us and everybody else. In our company, it is 100% performance-based. And all promotions are based 100% on objective, measurable criteria. I talked a little bit about how, my friend Jackson is in the finance industry, and for him to move up in his company, he doesn't know what he has to do. He got a promotion. I said, what'd you do to get the promotion? He said, well, I don't know. I've always worked really hard. I'm like, well, how do you get the next one? Well, I think I just continue to work hard. Well, how do you know, how can, is there any kind of set criteria? Well, no, there's not really, right? There's no real security. With us, we lay out exactly what you got to do from face to face to move from one stage to the next. It will always be that way. We don't care what race you are, what religion you are, what sex you are, who your uncle was, who you're married to, who you like, who you don't like. It's all 100% fair. Any questions so far? Yes. Okay, cool. So next point I want to talk about, and what I really want to hit on is that most people are going to be concerned about what their first week. What's their biggest negative? Commission? Yeah? Commission, security. Agreed? Cool.
Yeah.
So the next point I want to make through this example is that people feel like commission jobs or what we do are insecure or don't have a lot of stability, when in reality the opposite is the case. So I'm going to talk about how in any business, every business was created for one reason only. What's that? To make a profit. And whether you're talking about, Air France or the little coffee shop down the street, there's only two things that determine whether or not a company makes a profit. That's one, how much money comes in. Two, how much money goes out. We call this income, call this overhead. So, when the money coming in is higher than the money going out, that difference represents a profit, which we like, which is good. When the money going out is greater than the money coming in, that difference represents a loss. A loss over an extended period of time results in, right, how many of you guys know of a company or have a friend or a family member who the last few years got laid off from their job or was working for a company that went out of business? Yes. Okay, great. So, that company, like a lot of companies right now on the planet, are in a situation where they are spending more than they make. There's only two possible ways to fix this problem. What are they? Make this one bigger or this one smaller. What's the problem with making this one bigger? Let's say it's a bank. They could just open up 100 more branches. They would get more customers. What's the problem with that? It costs even more money. And when you have a pot of money and every single month you're losing money, are you inclined to spend all the rest that you have on opening up a bunch more branches? Probably not. So what do most companies opt to do? Bring this number down. Cut expenses. Now, what's the number one expense of a typical corporation? Salaried employees. So, what happens? Let's say I'm a consultant, they hire me to come in and fix this corporation. Let's say this company is losing money, or I'm the CEO, and the board of directors sits down to me and says, hey, we're losing money, we're at a loss every month, if we don't fix this, we're going to be out of business. What would I do? Well, let me tell you if this story sounds familiar. First, I would come in and I would just do this. Just get rid of a bunch of people. So we'd walk into a room like this and we'd say, okay, cool, from here over, you guys have a nice life, sorry, you don't have a job anymore. From here over, great, you guys are still here. Awesome, congratulations. Now, does their work still need to be done? Yes. Guess who's going to do it? You are. Get excited. Cool. And are you going to get a pay rise? No, you're not. And if you revolt and you say, that's not fair, I won't work more for the same money, what happens to you? There's the fucking door, right? You can take off too. And in reality, you're not even going to be upset. In reality, when you go home at night, after we just fired half the company, you're not going to say, oh, this is bullshit, I'm going to work twice as much for the same amount of money. You're going to crawl into bed with your partner and say, woo, honey, today was close. I am lucky. I was one of the good ones. They liked me, right? I still got a job. So, is that fair? Is it exciting? Well, it depends. If I'm an investor in this company, I love this solution because this keeps the company going. But if I work for this company, for me, I don't know. I just wasn't excited about not ever knowing if someone would just walk in and get rid of everything. And then I use examples from my personal life. So my dad's company, over the course of 4 years, they laid off 80% of the workforce that worked at that company. I'm sure you guys all have similar stories, so I talk about that. Then we talk about another way that the company can save money. So, that saved us a lot of money. That helped out here. Juice. The other thing that we can do. What are these guys' goals again? They want to move up, right? What are these guys' goals? They want to move up. What are these guys' goals? Same thing. So, I'm paying him what? $1 million a year? To be the CFO? How many of these guys would love to be the CFO? How many of them you think would do it for, I don't know, $100,000 a year instead of $1 million? So if I came to you and I said, Johnny, you've been with the company for 30 years, you're doing a fantastic job, you're making $35,000 a year, what we want to do, we're going to triple your income, you're going to become the CFO of the company, you're now going to make $100,000 a year. Are you going to take the job? Yeah. Yes, and if you don't, ever deny a promotion in the corporate world, know what happens to you? Bye. You can't really turn down promotions there. Okay, so he's going to take the job. Now, that looks great. Oh, I gave a person a raise. Johnny's excited. We got a new CFO, but what did I just do for the company? I fired a guy who was making $900,000 a year and replaced him with a guy who's making $100,000 a year. So I just saved the company $800,000? pounds, right? And I can do this all the way up. So how many of these guys making 15 grand a year would do their boss's job for 20? All of them. Well, so for every one of these guys that I get rid of and replace them with a guy making 10,000 less, say the company 10,000. Now, what does that create? Well, it creates a certain kind of culture. Right? Ever heard of a cutthroat culture? And you guys ever worked at a business where you could come in and on the first day, you can sit down with the vice president of the company and he would tell you all his mistakes and how he did it and how you can go do it faster? Is that normal in a normal company? Why not? Because I'm a threat. Because if I'm a new guy here, I'm going to be a threat to every single person above me because they know that I'll do their job for less money, especially in this market, especially with this much competition for a limited number of jobs. So again, there's nothing wrong with this business model, but for me, it didn't feel very secure. And for me, I didn't want to end up in a situation like my dad was, where I'm 62 years old and waking up every single day and not knowing, am I going to have a job today? It wasn't for me. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the path that my family chose, but it wasn't for me. I wanted something a little bit different. All right, now I move on to some more facts. Talk about your government knows this. Everybody pays taxes. If you go to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, you can find a chart, and what it shows is it tracks out how much money people make over time. And it shows that the average person gets their first job at around the age of 18, and that there's a dramatic increase in the amount of money that people make from the age of 18 to about the age of 30. But once you adjust for inflation and the purchasing power of your money, does this just keep going up forever? No? I mean, this makes sense, right? This might have been your first job. Here you were babysitting, maybe here you were bussing tables, maybe here you were tending bar, maybe here you were a bar manager, maybe here you got an education, here you got a college degree, here you got some kind of career, right? Does this just go up forever, though? No, it doesn't. What happens? It flatlines. Once you adjust for inflation, it flatlines. In fact, current, I think a lot of you guys got that email from Justin, the average annual salary increases right now are 3%. Well, if you factor in a real inflation rate of above 10%, this is actually going down. But let's say it's just average. And it doesn't just flatline for a long time, only about 35 years. And then you retire, right? How old are you when you retire in this country?
67.
67, 65? Okay, that's great. And so you've worked hard your whole life. You've been with these companies your whole life. When you're 65, what happens? They give you $1 million and say, go enjoy your golden years? No? What happens? At least you make the same money, no? No, you make less. How much? On average, this drops by 1/2 to 2/3. Of people at the age of 65 that retired in Europe at the end of 2011, on average, their pay went down by a factor of 80%. So whatever they were making here, minus 80%, that's what they're making here. And they're expected to live off that for the rest of their lives. Juiced by you, get excited. And I say, listen, I wish that someone had showed me this chart, a long time before. I wish that when I was in high school, someone had shown me the facts of like, hey, Christoph, here's what life looks like for normal people. Here's what you're going to have to do. Work really hard. You get really excited. And then things are going to get boring, right? And I talk about how, I saw my mom. There's nothing wrong with this plan at all. It's what most people are on. But I saw my mom do this. I saw my dad do this. I saw them year after year after year after year, day after day after day after day after day. Come home from work, wake up, go to home, come work. Wake up, go to work, come home. Wake up, go to work, come home. Wake up, go to work, come home. And when they came home, I don't know what it was like in your family, but my mom never came home from work and said, oh my God, Christoph, let me tell you about my day. How was your day? Good? Yeah? Awesome. It's good to see you. I hope you learned a lot at school. Man, things were so exciting at work today. I want to tell you about our future and where we're going and how things are going. Yeah. Was that what your parents were like when they came home?
No.
No. What were your parents? My parents came home. Whoa, Jesus Christ. How was your day, Mom? Oh, I don't want to talk to you. Right? And I just say, again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what a lot of people do. But for me, I couldn't imagine spending my whole life not getting ahead. And so for me, I would have done anything, And so yes, I'm going to show you a business model in a second where we knock on doors and where we do sales and where there's an opportunity to advance. But for me, I would have done anything just to get off this plane. That was it. Whether that was join the military, whether that was get in real estate, whether it was get in any kind of business. If you showed me any way to just not do this, I would have been excited about it. I just haven't found it. Now, any questions so far? Okay. Next, we go to the lunchtime breakdown, and I explain what's our business model. So that's a normal business model. That's what most people do. What do we do? Well, everybody starts out as a distributor. Cool. Talk about how everyone starts at the same place. And I do simply a modified version of the lunchtime breakdown. We talk about in distributor, what are we going to teach you? We're going to teach you how to do the basic sales. We're going to teach you the basic customer service. We're going to teach you something called the field. And what are we trying to get you to learn? We're trying to get you to learn our marketing system. So what's our marketing system? I explain it. It's the 8 steps. It's the 5 steps to a conversation. It's the impulse factor. It's a law of averages and working a 3-lap system. And I'd explain to them the concept of pitch, pace, and attitude. That, there's 3 things that determine one's success here and that they're all in our control, and you're going to hear them talked about over and over and over and over again. And that's how hard you work, what kind of attitude you have, and what kind of questions you have. And usually I take some time here to talk about the field and some hard stories that I have. So, again, Justin was saying that people just want to hear how it actually was for you. So, I always talk about the time that, the first time that I took a really hard no in the field, and I maybe been working for a week and a half, and most people have been pretty nice. And the first time that someone ever, just opened the door, looked at me, and just slammed it in my face, and how much that hurt my feelings. And I still remember what his face looked like, and he'd just gotten off work because he had his little name tag on, and it had a little thing from I work at Nissan or whatever, and he just looked at me and slammed the door. And I remember thinking, oh, what an asshole, and it just really hurt my feelings. Why did you do that? You could have just said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, but just slam it in my face. And how 2 hours later, that guy had long forgotten about me, but I hadn't forgotten about him. Oh, no. I'd written down his address. I planned to come back and someday. I know my feelings were really hurt, and that screwed up my attitude, and that messed me up. And how now, understanding that I'm going to go to the field and take, 85 no's and 5 yeses, now that's my favorite guy to talk to because I'm just ticking off the numbers on my tracking sheet. I'm just looking to exploit the law of averages. So my favorite kind of no is that guy because he wastes 0 of my time. We don't even have to talk to each other. We don't even have to exchange conversation. He just lets me know in a really, really quick fashion that he's not interested. He's a no, and I can just write down no and go on and find my yeses. So now he's my favorite guy. Let's talk about how that can change. Talk about attitudes and muscle. Talk about how it's gonna need to get ripped and ripped and ripped and ripped, and it's gonna grow back stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Talk about how because there's no seniority, regardless of their skill level right now with something like the impulse factors of the 8 steps, they should still be competing with the leaders. That anybody here could be the next manager. That it's usually a group here that's distributors right now that passes everybody and gets promoted to management. That don't wait for your leader. That even if you're not good at these things, if you can just learn to speak to 40 people more a day, you could probably outperform them. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that want to compete. And then I talk about road trips, what they are, why they should get on them, promote them, give examples, because I know that my chances of retaining this person, my chances of getting this person leadership, my chances of showing this person a good example, and my chances of them making more money are going to be exponentially increased if I can get them out on a road trip in the first 2 weeks. So I'm trying to do that as much as possible. Cool? So I talk about distributor, then I go through specific qualifications, what we need for them to move from here to here. So now what am I explaining? I'm explaining the opposite of what every other company has, which is how do you get promoted? Ooh, I don't know. You drink the magic juice and hold a seance and maybe it happens. Versus us, we just give you a sheet of paper. We tell you do this, 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 and this. That's a checklist of information to go from A to B to C to D. Cool? So how many sales? What do I expect from them in the field to get promoted? What's their minimum production requirements? What do I expect from them in the office? I'm going to give them a COD pack, so you got to have this filled out, this filled out, this filled out. Once you get those, automatically promoted. Promotion is objective. Talk about leadership. Now, when we're talking about leadership, I've got to explain our business model, and I've got to explain how they're going to get promoted from leadership to assistant manager. Again, I'm going to explain this in a positive way. So first, I go through all the things that they're going to be expected to learn in leadership. How to interview people, how to train people, how to get along with people, communication skills, customer service skills, how to manage a team. Okay? What I don't want them to think is that they need people. What I don't want them to think is they've got to, need a team, because it's not true. So I say, so how do we measure someone's ability to oversee a team? We know that if someone can oversee a team of 5 people, they can oversee a team of 10. How do we measure someone's ability to get someone better? Well, we want to have a way that's objective, right? You guys don't want me to just follow you around and say, oh, I think he's ready to be a manager, because then it would not be an objective process. Then it would become, who does Christoph like and who does he not like? So here's what we do. Our clients want us to grow. We need to open 50 offices in the next 3 years, minimum. I want to grow. That's how I advance my career. You guys want to grow. So what do? So we interview people. So yesterday we sat down with 67 people that applied for a job. Now, are we gonna bring all of them aboard? No, of course not. Of those 67, we selected 15 that we're gonna have come back in tomorrow. Now, of those 15, how do I know who the best ones to select are? Well, here's our process. We have what's called a secondary interview. So literally the way that it works is I'll come up to Madalena tomorrow and I'll say, hey Madalena, I have these 15 people that we've selected out of the 67 that interviewed. I probably only want to offer a position to 2 or 3. Would you mind to let them go out with you for a day? Explain the business to them, be nice to them, I'll show them a little bit about what we do, answer any questions that you can answer, and at the end of the day, will you give me your honest opinion of what you think of them? Do you think they're honest? Do you think they're hardworking? Do you think they're ambitious? Do you think they belong with the team? Well, let's say that person goes out for a full day, comes back, and let's say Madalena loves her. Let's think she's honest, thinks she'd be a great match. And let's say I sit down with her and I like her too. I decide to bring her aboard. Well, now we have a problem. That person now needs to be trained. Who should I let train that person? Who would it make sense to train that person? Madalena, of course. Why? Because she took time out of her day yesterday to show this person around. And probably, there's probably not another person in the company that's going to be more comfortable with a new person than Madalena, because Madalena spent the most amount of time with her. So that's how you get to be assigned to a leader. For instance, that's how you become a part of a team, so to speak. Now Madalena doesn't have to work with her. Madalena can say, no, I don't like her, she smells bad, and we'll have somebody else train. It's no problem. But that's how you get assigned individuals to coach. So what do we want to see Madalena do in order for her to get promoted to assistant management? Well, let's say she goes out, she works with that person, Nancy, who we just brought aboard. We want to see that she can train Nancy to become a leader. Cool? We want to see that she can then do that 4 times herself, train someone to get to leadership, and that she can train at least one of those people, let's say Nancy, to train one other person. I'm explaining the 4-in-1 model right now. Then go through the specific production requirements for our campaign. Then have to do X amount of sales for 2 weeks in a row. At that point, Madalena is going to get promoted to assistant manager. Why do we do it this way? Again, it's objective. You can't screw with it. It's not down to, what religion is Madalena, who does she know, who does she not know, do we like her, do we not like her. It's down 100% to performance. Who chooses whether or not she does this? She does, and nobody does. Cool, now we talk about assistant management. Where it gets really fun, we talk about the back office, we talk about all the things that you're going to cover in the assistant management role. So now that a person's learned the front of the house, so to speak, they've learned how to train people, they've learned how to do the basic sales, we now want to teach them everything that goes on behind the scenes that it takes to run one of these companies. So we're going to teach you how to do 3rd round interviews, we're going to teach you how to do 1st round interviews, we're going to teach you how to be a talent scout, we're going to teach you how to deal with compliance and complaints, we're going to teach you how to deal with our marketing and client team, also known as per diem Credica, right? We're going to teach you how to do client negotiations, how to sit down with our clients, how to do quality control meetings. We're going to have you travel around a little bit to some other offices. I make this sound super, super sexy because it is super sexy. Yeah? It is. It's super sexy. I have a great time with this man. All right. And then once the assistant manager and the manager are at equal levels, it just makes sense to have them in the same place. So we'll move them on into management. Now, as a manager, how are they going to make money? Anybody? Cool? At this point, I want to go through and explain to them that it's still always performance-based. I'll give a little bit of the short story in terms of, there will be a day where we come and I say, okay, fantastic, Elsa, so where do you want to open an office? Okay, you want to open up in Luria? All right, let's go. We get on a train, we go to Luria, we find some office space, and we're going to hand her keys. It's going to be hers. And what can she call it? Anything that she wants. What color can she paint her walls? Anything she wants. What color can her desk be? Pink. Only. No, anything that she wants, because now she's going to be individually incorporated. This is going to be her business. The same way that any business operates, she's going to have expenses and she's going to have income. And then we talk about the three people that get paid in any process. So, let's say I buy a Ferrari. Who gets paid? You guys seen this? Here's my Ferrari. Cool? That should have been an artist. Really. Okay. I buy a Ferrari. Who gets paid? How much does a Ferrari cost? $100,000. Okay. Where's that money go? Where's it go? I give them $100,000 in cash. Where's it go? The dealership. Okay. So it goes to the dealer. Who else would make some of that money? It would go to the supplier. Ferrari. Okay. And it would go to the sales rep. Okay, great. And then we go through who would make the most money, who would make the least money. Most of that $100,000 would go to the supplier, Ferrari, right? The second most would go to the dealership. And the third most would go to the rep. I say, in our business, like any other business that sells anything, the same three people get paid. The rep in the field, the dealer, in this case it would be the manager, and the supplier, in this case would be our supplier per diem credit. The only difference is that in our company we always believe that the person doing the most work should have the highest percentage of the income, so we reverse this. So in our company, the rep will always make the highest percentage, the manager is the second highest, and our supplier. Cool? Then I'm going to use my campaign. I'm going to go through what those strokes are. 15, 25, whatever it is. And then I'm going to get out the bulletin. I'm going to talk about 3 different types of offices. So get out the bulletin. First office I want to talk about is if they just hit criteria. So, let's say when I got promoted on Talk, it took 125 applications to get promoted. So I will talk about how if I just open up and only do 125 applications the rest of my career, how much money does that then work out to be for the manager? And it's like an okay income, right? I then want to talk about an average office where the manager is making, $1,500 a week. Then I want to talk about the number 1 office. Then last week, this guy here doing, 500 sales in Milan. Well, work out the math there. He made $5,000 last week. Now, is everyone going to make as much money as him? No. Why did he make that much money? Because last week he had a better attitude, worked harder, and asked more questions than the other manager did. Now, if the career ended there, and that was what we did, it would still be a pretty good opportunity. Well, it probably wouldn't be an opportunity that I'd be in. It would still be a good place where you could come in, learn some stuff, run your own little company, make some money. But for me, my goals were a lot bigger, and I was excited about what's going to come after that. And I love you guys, and I'm excited to be here, but when I'm 55 years old, and it's Saturday at 11 a.m., I don't really want to be running a morning meeting. I want to be, on the beach, drinking a mojito with someone that's a lot more attractive than I am. So, how does that happen in our business, right? Well, there's levels above management. Okay, so I draw this out. I say, all right, Patricia, you get promoted to management just by you. Woo, give her a round of applause. Oh, yay, Patricia. All right, so Patricia, you got promoted to management. Now, what you did when you got to so you're now an owner. Great job. You got your own keys. This is how you're making money. So there's going to be 2 ways that you make money now. One is the way that we just went through off your sales. Cool. 2 is by your ability to help other people get promoted into management. Now, why does this matter? Well, remember, do our clients making money off what we do? Of course. Do our clients want us to open up more offices? Of course. So, we have a program where our owners are incentivized to create more growth. Okay? So, Patricia, if you invest 6 to 10 months of your life into someone like Bambi, right? Okay, cool. Bambi. So you have Bambi in your office, you spend 6 to 10 months of your life teaching Bambi how to get great at the sales, teaching Bambi how to, train people, teaching Bambi how to graduate the training program. Bambi now gets promoted. Cool? This is going to now make you a promoting owner. Woo! Or a promoting manager. Get excited. Now, why would you do this? Well, for 2 reasons. Why would you invest money in Bambi? Why would you go out there and teach Bambi to do all this? Why would you get Bambi set up in her own building? 1 is just because you love Bambi and we're good people, and that's fantastic. 2 is because you make more money and that's how you advance your career. So now, every time a sale is done in Bambi's office, Patricia is going to get a small piece of that. She's going to get a little bonus from every sale done in Bambi's office. Now, is that money going to come from Bambi's pocket? No. It's bonus from our supply, right? Because we want to incentivize people who create growth. On average, that's going to be around 15,000 euros or 15,000 pounds per year per office that Patricia helps open up. Now, how many of you guys would like to make an extra 15,000 this year for doing work that was primarily done last year? Okay, great. Now, is it going to be for free? No, of course not. She's still going to have to work for it? Of course. So when Bambi has a problem, or Bambi has a question, or Bambi wants to know what to run a meeting on, who do you think she's going to call? Patricia. Patricia, yes, fantastic. Yes, she's going to call. Okay, now, if Bambi promotes someone, Bambi promotes Cletus, all right?
Simba.
Simba? Bambi promotes Simba? Cool. Bambi's now going to make that 15 grand off Simba. That's fantastic. What is Patricia going to make? 0. Until we get to the next phase of the program, which is called regional consultant, or regional director, or regional manager. What is a regional manager? Well, a regional manager did this. He got to management. Cool. He then taught at least 4 other people how to get to management. And then he taught at least one of them how to teach someone else how to get to management. Have you seen this model before?
Yep.
Yes, it's very, very similar. It's like it's like getting to assistant management only as an owner. So they then hit a production criteria. So if you add up all the rep stroke and all the owner stroke, they have to have 50,000 per week, 4 weeks in a row. I'll explain the math a little bit more if you're confused. And then a person gets promoted to regional consultant. Now, what do we do for you when you get promoted to regional consultant? First, we throw you a party. It's called a rally. Cool. Why? Because it's fun, right? We like fun, and why not? And you've worked hard. Second, they give you a 5,000 euro Cartier watch, so you've got some nice bling to walk around in. And 3, they give you a massive pay rise. So for all these people that you've helped that you're making 15,000 off of here, that now is going to go to an average of 22,500 a year for each one of these people. And for all these people down here, like Simba, that you weren't making any money off of, you're now going to make an average of 7,500 per year. So, total, and I'll talk about the averages. Total, that's our average regional consultants their first year. They're making around 127,000 just in residual overrides for consulting fees from this, in addition to what they're making in their office. Now, who's excited?
I don't understand.
Great.
Can you explain?
Fantastic. From there, after a person gets promoted from regional, there's one final phase in the program that we have a name for, and that's called vice president. What is a vice president? Well, a vice president is someone who has helped 7 other people, at least, come through our program. So we found 7 people that thought it would be a good idea to come through the field, to own their own company, and make money in this business. 7 other people he taught to get to management. that 7 has collectively taught at least another 4. Then, as a crew, they hit another production goal, which is 100,000 for 8 weeks in a row. And at that point, you get promoted to vice president. Now, what happens when you get promoted to vice president? We throw you a party. Why? Because it's fun. Yeah? Okay? And then they give you another watch, because it's really cool to wear one on one hand and one on the other. And I talk about, the last set of watches that they gave out were Frank Mueller watches. They were 20,000 a piece. Absolutely gorgeous. And then lastly, in addition to the watch, they give you another pay raise. So now for every one of these people that you've helped get to management, on average, you're going to make around $30,000 a year per office. For every person down here, second and third generation, on average, you're going to make $15,000 per office. Talk about how our average vice president, starting out in consulting fees, is making $360,000 a year just in consulting. Now, who's excited? Yes, is that some real money? I say, and the real exciting thing is that once you get to vice president, you get some choices. So vice president has a few different career paths now. What can he do now as a vice president?
Hey, Christoph's got that watch in 6 weeks. You're down watch for regional, give him
as a vice president, what can you do? One, continue to run an office. And I talk about how, I have friends that are vice presidents that do this, and it's really, really exciting. And how big can you get? No one even really knows. And how after getting good at the business and being able to bring people in, there's nothing more exciting in the world than seeing people, start out with a dream, come through our program, get to management, and really change their lives and really accomplish their dreams. And it's addictive, and the more you do it, the more you want to see other people succeed. And so there's some vice presidents that say, hey, I'm going to continue to run an office. 2, you can work heavily with our clients and our suppliers. So, for instance, the reason that we have a program called Charities, for instance, is because one of the vice presidents 5 years ago said, hey, we think it would be a good idea if we're able to use this business model in these industries, maybe it would work for charities. So he was part of the team that went and sat down with the British Red Cross, and now it's one of our biggest divisions in the world. So these are the people that really shape the future of the company and where the company's headed. 3, if you're really insane, like my coach, you can pick a country where they don't have our business, and you can go. So I talk about Justin and how he was excited to expand his business into other countries. And was on holiday at one point in Barcelona with his wife, and they looked at each other and said, wow, Barcelona's nice, we should move to Spain. He said, okay, let's do it. And how 3 months later, they're in Spain, they're working with the largest energy company, the largest telephony company, and the largest bank in Spain. And how there's so many countries right now that we're expanding to. This is where I really go into the promotions of, we're going into Poland, we're going into Brazil. We just opened Stockholm. There's a huge opportunity now that's never been there before for people like Sean Grace coming through the program who now, even at the assistant management level, can come in and have the opportunity to be part of opening a new country. And I say in 4, they can consult. Consulting, what does that mean? It means that their job now is to work with a group of people that they've helped get to management and teach them how to reach their goals and help them get to regional consultant, help them get to vice president. I say consulting is really cool, so they wouldn't run an office on a day-to-day basis. They would react to their own schedule. I say consulting is really cool because you can do it over the phone, and the phone works a lot of places. The phone works at home. The phone works on the beach, right? The phone works wherever a person's going. And then I usually close with a story. The story I tell is about the first time that I met Jesse Young. And how I heard, I was a manager in America and I was doing really, really well. And I got the opportunity to come to the UK, and I've heard all these stories about Jesse Young, and he was this big vice president, and what did that mean? It was 2008, it was the Champions League final. Chelsea was playing Manchester United, if you guys remember that game. Sorry, 2009. And he invited me over to his house, and I was 24 years old. I was making good money. I was a little bit, probably overconfident of myself, and I thought I was doing pretty well. And I get to his house, and there's a gate, which was kind of weird, and then there's like a box, and we had to go put in a code, and like the person's talking to us, and then this gate opens up, and normally you see a house, and you're like, oh, that's a nice house. And for him, you saw his house, and you're like, holy shit, that's a house, right? Like, it took up your whole field of vision, and then, how most people, walk by his cars, and he had one that I was sure I'd never seen before except in the Batman movie. It was the Aston Martin. And, I had another BMW X3 outside for his wife. That was like their beat-up car that they take the kids around in. And, I would come in and I'd meet his wife and I'd meet his son, and they were just such cool, normal people. And, I said, hey, Jesse, like, this house is amazing. Can you show me around? He's like, yeah, sure, come on in. And so we're walking around. It's like, yeah, here's this bathroom, and here's this other bedroom, and here's this living room that we don't ever use. And I said, what's down this hallway? He's like, I don't even know, to be honest with you. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. It's like, oh, no, you haven't seen the best part. So we go outside, and there's all these tropical gardens, and it's just been professionally landscaped. And then we go up above his garage, and there's like a man room, with like pool tables and pinball machines and leather couches. And I'm just like, holy shit. And, I sit down with him on the couch, and, I remember just looking at him and saying, wow, like, what do I gotta do to have this? Like, you seem to have everything, a family, life, kids. What do I do to have this? And he laughed, and he said, Christoph, relax. The only difference between me and you is time. He said, if you're willing to work as hard as I did and put in the same amount of effort with the same attitude and ask as many questions as I did, you can have the same thing too. The only difference between us would be time. And that's my message to you guys. That could be the only difference between us. We all got started at the same place. Jesse Young went on an observation day, just like I went on an observation day, just like you went on an observation day. And then I try to bring them back down to life, right? Because at this point, everyone's kind of floating in the air, and they're like, oh, dreaming, right? And I know we're going to go to the field today. I say, but what does it mean you got to do today? How is that going to happen? Well, if this is where you are in life and this is where you want to be, you can't just take one big step. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a bunch of really, 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 really small steps. And right now, you guys are in that first phase of distributor. So right now, we're going to go to the field. And what can you do today to help you get that lifestyle? Well, it's simple. We're going to focus really, really hard on our attitude. We're going to focus really, really hard on just collecting a bunch of no's today so that we can get the yeses. We're going to ask a bunch of questions tonight, and we're going to work harder than anybody else in the company. Cheers?
Cheers.
Questions?
So with your clothes,
Yeah?
do we have to make it our own personal story, or tell me your story, or tell...
I think you can make it any story as long as it's honest. I think there's plenty of examples of people that are vice presidents that have unbelievable lifestyles. You look at Justin's lifestyle is unbelievable. Look at Jesse's, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's not hard to find examples now. It's probably hard when there was no vice president.
Christoph, we should do the opportunity meeting just for the distributors that didn't hear?
That's a good question. So I think everybody the golden rule is everybody sees it before a weekend. But then, sometimes people will see it on their first week. Well, is it a good idea for them to see it 3 months later? I think so. So what I'll do a lot of times is anybody that I see that maybe was super excited but's gone in a little bit of a slump, or maybe they're having some family problems, or maybe there's something going on outside, but they don't seem completely put together. I'll pull them back in and let them sit in on the opportunity meeting that week to try and get them refocused and get them to remember, how they felt a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Christoph, at the start you were saying how your parents didn't like you and all that type of stuff. So one of the things that I've always had a problem with is that my parents supported me when I dropped out.
That's fantastic, but most people didn't, so just don't talk about you, talk about me, or talk about somebody else, talk about another person. You know what I mean? So I don't know, I'm never going to pretend my story is anything but my story. I'm never going to say that I had a negative that I didn't have, but it's just as easy to use another example of somebody else that did have that, suppose yourself. Yeah, good? All right, cool. Next up, we've got Simon.